Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to my final week of my Orilium reading vlogs. Alright guys, so we have made it to the final week of Orilium, and this vlog is going to go through today, which is Sunday, through next Monday, since that is when the month ends. So this vlog will be a couple days longer than the other one, but I'm here to kind of start off this vlog and let you know where we are at with my reading and what we still need to get to. So last week I ended the vlog by talking a little bit about my initial thoughts of Desperate Measures by Katie Roberts. I should have all the other vlogs listed down below. At the point of starting this vlog, I have only edited the first one and it is up, and I haven't even had time to edit the second vlog. I have just been kind of busy lately. I'm not even sure what I've been busy with, but life has just been throwing little tasks at me here and there that have been occupying my time. So we will see when those vlogs come out, but it probably will be throughout October. But to you, that doesn't matter because they are already out, obviously, because they are going to come out in order. But I am currently on page 114 of Desperate Measures. I only read about 10 pages this morning before getting ready for the day. My goal is to finish this book today, which I believe is another 100 pages from where I am right now. Is that gonna happen? Probably not. Me and my mom are heading downtown because they are kind of doing this thing where old houses get renovated, and this weekend they kind of open their doors and you can kind of go into their house and look at the renovations that they have done for these older homes. So we're gonna go and check that out, have some lunch down there. This will probably take a good chunk of the day, and then I gotta do some grocery shopping, and then I gotta do dinner tonight. So I have a feeling I'm not gonna have time to squeeze in 100 pages of reading, even if that is 100 pages of pure erotica. That being said, I am having fun with this story. And sometimes it does get a little bit repetitive. Some of the more sexual scenes work for me. You know, I have a fun time with them. Other ones, I'm like, yeah, we're here. We've been doing this for a while, seen this, been here, done that kind of situation. So, you know, I'm having a fun time with it. I think that's kind of what you're supposed to do with a story like this. It doesn't take itself too seriously. But I will say that Katie Roberts does know how to write a good smut scene. In case this is the first vlog that you are watching and you don't feel like watching the other ones and you haven't watched my TBR or anything along those lines, these books are retellings of Disney characters, usually between one of the main characters and the villain, and a lot of them are BDSM themed. This one is between Jasmine and Jafar, and the theme is kind of like a consensual non-consent situation. So I'm having a good time with it. At times I am a little bored, but at the same time the story is essentially giving me what I expected it to give me. So that being said, once I finish that book, I have 3 other books that I need to go ahead and finish. One of them is an audiobook that I haven't started yet, and this is Assistant to the Villain. I do have it on my Libby app. I highly doubt I'm gonna start it today. Most likely we'll start it tomorrow, and I will go ahead and tell you a bit more about that and my initial thoughts once I get into the story. As far as the 2 physical books that I have left, I have The Alchemist, which is a very short book, so that is good. Hopefully I can power through this in a couple of days, because the final book that I have is a little bit chunkier, coming at a little over 350 pages, and that is Saints. And this is the book that's making me kind of nervous because it has, you know, relatively small text and it is more pages. So I really do kind of want to make sure that I get through these books relatively early in the week so that I can focus on finishing this one by the end of the month, because I think we are going to be cutting it relatively close. It is going to be a very intense final sprint to the finish line. So it has been a pretty good reading month for me so far, so I'm hoping to enjoy these books. I really want to make sure that I'm finishing them by the end of the month, but I don't want to rush through them so that I'm not enjoying them. So we're going to be finding that balance of reading enough but also not like skimming and not taking in the story. So that is always the challenge when you're trying to finish books by a certain time. But that being said, that is my introduction to this vlog. I will probably not check in with you tonight, but I will go ahead and see you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, so good news. I finished Desperate Measures by Katie Roberts. I'm very proud of myself because I did not think that that was going to happen today, but we made it work. And it is, I think it's almost 8 o'clock, so it's not even like a last minute thing. We have time to spare. And I'm trying to think what I want to rate this. I think I'm going to give it a 4 stars. I think as far as erotica goes, it was pretty good. I did enjoy the second half more than the first half because there was more plot. And I am a plot girly at the end of the day. I really did enjoy the way that the author decided to end the story. I think it was a little bit of a girl power moment and we love to see it. I also really started to like Jafar as a character. He was someone who was really protective and we all love a protective male love interest, and he really just could not say no to her, even though he was like, I should be saying no to her, but I just can't. And we love to see that as well. So I had a good time with these characters. Yes, like I said before, sometimes it gets a little bit repetitive with the sex stuff, but overall, it was a fun time. It was an easy time, and I do like the characters and the direction that the story took. So, 4 stars. I will definitely continue this series. I don't think I'm gonna buy the books physically. I'm gonna see if my library has them because I don't foresee this being like a series that I reread, especially since I think it's relatively long. Like there's multiple Disney ones, and I think it also bleeds into like a Greek retelling as well, especially since one of the characters is Hades. So I'll probably see if my library has them. I'm assuming that it does. Katie Roberts is a pretty popular author, and otherwise I can also just buy it as Kindles because it's not like I love the covers or anything like that. So we'll see. I will continue this series, but we'll see in what format. I will not be doing audiobooks. Absolutely not. I do not like listening to sex scenes. Every once in a while I do because I do like the occasional contemporary romance as an audiobook, but it's always just a little bit more cringe than like physically reading it. Just how my asexual brain works. But that being said, we have completed my lore class. That was the cue prompt for lore, so we are done with lore. Very excited about that. The next book we are going to be going into is very different than Desperate Measures. I put this book in between Desperate Measures and Sinner so that I could get a little break from the smut. Not that I think Sinner is going to be like overly smut heavy, but I do know it has some in there. So a little bit of a palate cleanser. So this is a reread for me. I read this I think before I started my channel, so I don't think I ever reviewed it here or anything like that, but I really did enjoy this book. I don't even know if I was rating books back in the day, but I guess I would have rated it like a 5-star. I know there are some problems with this book. It's an older book written by a man. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. But I do remember just feeling an overwhelming sense of peace while reading this. So I am really excited to go ahead and read this. I am kind of hoping to finish it in the next couple of days. I'll probably start it tonight. I'm going to do some editing tonight for my October TBR, which I have a feeling is going to be a pain to edit because that was such a messy situation that I'm gonna get like such a headache editing it. I'm not even joking. I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, it was kind of fun to film it because it was so chaotic, but when I finished that I was like, I'm not gonna have fun editing that. But I'm probably gonna do about an hour of editing, so it'll be like around 9 o'clock, and I usually don't really go to bed until about 10, so I'll probably do a little bit more reading, and I'll probably watch like an episode of Bee and Puppy Cat, which is the show I'm watching. I think I am on episode 14, or did I already watch? I think I only have 2 episodes, so I think I might be on episode 15, and there's 16 episodes, so I only have a couple more episodes to watch, but I think I started that in the first week of the month, so I managed to make those 16 episodes last me quite a while. So had a really great time with that show, so I'll probably watch that a little bit tonight. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we did today, because you were probably like, thanks Natalie for showing me that house that I will never be able to afford. Yeah, me too. I like walked up there and I was like, oh, so I'm poor. Okay, see, I thought I was doing okay financially, but this tells me I'm not, because I could never. Essentially what this tour was is there was a bunch of different tours. I thought it was like all downtown Olympia because downtown Olympia has a lot of older houses, but no, it seems like it was mostly in the Olympia Lacey area, and there are different like companies that can go ahead and show one house that they have worked on, and the people that own that house, if someone happens to live there, would have to be like, yeah, that's totally fine that people could be in my house. And it just kind of allows them to be like, here's the kind of work we do, and also gives people the opportunity to just kind of see what the community is doing with remodeling houses. So we saw three houses. The first one we saw was from a company. Oh, I thought I asked for their business card, but I think it might be in my mom's car still. So I'll put their name here because they are a nonprofit organization, unlike the other houses we saw. And they build or remodel a lot of houses for low-income people, people with disabilities. And the house that they were specifically working on wasn't completed yet. So that was the only house we saw that wasn't completed yet. They have been working on it for the last 2 years. Because they're a nonprofit, they probably can only work on it like in bits and pieces for people who volunteer their time to work on it and volunteer like funds and supplies and things. But they've been working on it for 2 years. It was a house that was abandoned for 10 years, which is a very long time. And then the city kind of like donated it to this company because they're like, no one's going to do anything with it. And it's going to be kind of a halfway house for people who are recovering from like drug addiction. So I thought that was actually really cool that there's a program out there for that, and that they were creating these safe spaces for people to like have a living space while they're kind of recovering from addiction and things like that. So that was the first one we saw. Then the second one we saw is the one that I actually recorded, and this one was, I don't even know if this was like a single family home. My brain is like, there's no way one family lives in here, because the way it was set up is like there was an elevator in that house. First of all, there was an elevator in that house. And I was like, what? But there also seemed to be like multiple smaller kitchen areas. And I was like, why does a house need multiple kitchens? And then of course there was a movie theater in there and like a game room. And it was humongous. I was like, but it was beautiful. It really was. It was gorgeous. I doubt my camera quality really highlighted the beauty of the colors, especially like the darker rooms, because they had a lot of like lighter color rooms and then balanced that out with like really dark rooms as well. There were like the really dark green, almost library room that I showed you. I was like, I wish I had a library room with like that, with like a fireplace. You know, I gotta marry me a rich man. Let me tell you, I gotta marry me. I wish I could be a feminist and be like, I can make that money myself. No. I enjoy working with welfare programs too much to ever be able to make that much money. But yes, that was the second house we saw. Very beautiful. And apparently that was a house built from scratch, because I think someone said that it was just like a gravel plot. So this wasn't really a remodel. It was like a full build situation. And this one, they did have some photos of what it looked like before, and it was relatively big, but it was very dated. They're like, this is what the movie theater used to look like. I mean, my mom was like, oh my God, those poor people with their outdated movie theater. Like, could never be us. But it was really great. And then the last house we went to was really well done as well. I didn't take any videos there. It was definitely a starter home. It was in a neighborhood that my mom said kind of looked like it was probably built in like the 60s, and they had just remodeled kind of the front area, so we didn't see the bedrooms or anything, but they did a really great job, took down a lot of walls. It was a very small house, like smaller than my house, and they really did a great job of like really opening up the space, light colors, which caused the space to look bigger, added a really nice big window. So there's people out there that are doing some really great work, and you're probably like, Natalie, I actually don't care because this is a book channel, but I just had to tell you guys, because I never knew there was a thing where companies were like, come walk into someone's house and see what we did. And I was like, I want to go into someone's house. Like, I'm the kind of person, like when it's dark out, who looks into people's windows. I mean, I don't care about the people. It's not a weird thing where I'm trying to see them doing something inappropriate. Like, I just want to look into people's houses and like see what decorations they have, like how they set up their rooms. And I don't know, I just I used to like watching those house flipper shows like Chip and Joanne. It's just nice seeing other people's homes. So I had a great time doing that. And then me and my mom, we went to this restaurant, which is moving downtown soon. The current location is really beautiful. It's next to a yoga studio. And I guess they're just hoping for like a bigger kitchen because that location, while very cute, is super tiny. So they're moving next to Traditions. And I'm actually pretty excited about that because I used to go to Traditions for their Yammy Sammy all the time, and then they closed down their kitchen. So I'm really looking forward to a new cafe restaurant going in there that has good vegan options. I got the tofu banh mi, I think you pronounce it banh mi, and it was really great and really fresh. And my mom got the temph, is that what it's called? Temph, that doesn't sound right. It's kind of like that fake meat. I'm covered in fuzz because my pants are shedding. That's what happens when you buy cheap pants. Anyway, she got a temph Reuben. I'm probably saying the word wrong, but whatever. And that had a really great flavor to it as well. So super excited to have them in an area that I frequent a bit more than where they are right now. So that was my day. I had a really great time. I just wanted to share a little bit about my life. I always mean to like have a little bit more conversation about my life instead of just talking about books, because I like when other people do that. And I just always forget or don't do anything worth talking about. But I did something worth talking about today. All right, sorry if the angle changed. My phone ran out of storage. I really need to go through and clear out a bunch of photos and whatnot because this is the second time this month that my phone has run out of storage. So, but yes, that is my cue to stop talking and get some editing done, and then hopefully go ahead and get a little ways into this book. And I will go ahead and check in with you tomorrow to give you my initial thoughts on my reread of that. I never really said what this was about. In case you don't know this well-beloved book, we are essentially following a young shepherd boy who is off to seek treasure at the pyramids, and along the way he just has a lot of different experiences that cause him to grow as a person, and it's just kind of a vibe. It's about the journey more than the destination kind of situation. So I had a really great time with it. Hopefully I have a great time with it the second time. I know my sister read it, I think earlier this year, and she had a really great time with it, and that kind of like reinvigorated my desire to go ahead and do this reread. So very excited I got it on this TBR. And by the way, this is for the Q prompt of alchemy, to read a book that was initially self-published and then traditionally published. I wasn't 100% sure if that was the case with this book, but we put it for it because I'm like 98% sure that it is. But yes, I'm gonna go do some work and I will check in with you guys tomorrow. Everybody, it is Monday afternoon, late afternoon. I am on my last break of the day, so it is 3 o'clock. Workday is almost over, but I wanted to go ahead and do a update with The Alchemist because I am 50% through this book, so I just wanted to do at least one update before I finish it. I'm enjoying this book just like I did the first time. It is a very relaxing, almost meandery read. I would say that the stakes aren't overly high. It's kind of there's a final goal, but there's no time restraint or anything that is causing us to have to hurry or panic or anything along those lines. It really is chill vibes all the way through. Like I kind of mentioned, the story really is about the journey more so than the destination. I really do enjoy our character. I think he's an interesting character to follow. He's someone who has a dream, and while he sometimes steps away from that dream a little bit, he always comes back to it in the end. And I just feel like this book gives you a sense of appreciation for the small achievements that one has in life. Like every small achievement is a stepping stone to that larger achievement that you are trying to succeed in. So I really do like the messaging of this story. At this point in the story, our character has finally started the long journey across the desert to get to the pyramids. Up to this point, we've kind of been following his life as a shepherd, and as he kind of takes that first step to actually arriving in Africa and kind of trying to figure out how he's going to get from the port town in Africa across this very dangerous desert to the pyramids where the treasure that he is seeking supposedly is. His journey is taking a lot longer than he initially expected, but what he was kind of realizing is that yes, he might only be 2 hours closer to the pyramids than he was when he decided to leave his home country, and it's taken him a year to get here, but progress is progress. Just because the progress you made was so much smaller than what you initially expected, it doesn't mean that you should turn back and undo all of that progress. So to just kind of keep pushing forward with your goal, one foot in front of the other kind of situation. And I just like how this book makes me feel. I feel like it makes me appreciate more where I am in life, kind of appreciate where I have been, and kind of increases my confidence in realizing that I am on the right path to where I want to go. I'm not there yet, but at least I'm doing something that'll get me there, and that's something to be proud of. So I really feel like this is one of those books that really could benefit all types of people. It can be perceived as a rather religious work, but even as a non-religious person, I can take a lot from this story, and I really think that people in all different walks of life at all different points in their life really could take something away from this story. So I'm gonna get in a few minutes of reading before my break ends, and I gotta finish up the workday. I am kind of hoping to finish this book today, but then again, my dad came back from his weekend trip, so I'm not sure. I might spend some time with my family tonight, but it's not a gym night, so I do have some more time to read than on gym nights. So I will check in with you either later tonight if I happen to finish this book, or tomorrow. It is Tuesday morning. I have 5 minutes before I gotta log into work. So a real quick checkup. I just wanted to let you know that I finished The Alchemist last night. I did complete it. I was in the zone with this book. I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to finish it. And I finished it a little bit before 10. And by that, I mean by 9:59. So perfect timing. And I am once again going to give this book 5 stars. I don't know if I ever officially rated it the first time I read it, because I might have read it before I started doing ratings, but it was a 5-star read the first time, and it is a 5-star read the second time. I just absolutely love the messaging of this book. I love the pacing of the story. I love the characters that we come in contact with. Overall, it is just a well-rounded, important story that I know that I will return to time and time again throughout my life. I honestly don't think I have too much more to say on this book other than what I've already said and my rating of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this aside and let you know that I will be starting the last physical read of this readathon. It is a little bit of a chunkier book, still under 400 pages, but it was definitely probably the second longest or so book on my TBR this month. So I'm definitely glad that I have quite a few days to get through it. I have until next Monday, which I definitely should be able to achieve. This is the second book to the Priest series by Sierra Simone. I read the third book. I don't have any interest in reading the first one, which is Priest. That is a concept that I'm just like not interested in. But in this book, we are following a woman who is looking to become a nun. However, she is hoping to have certain experiences before she, whatever it is nuns do, promises herself to Jesus. I think they're usually married to Jesus. And so she asks for the help of her brother's best friend, and I'm assuming by the end of the story, she's probably not going to become a nun. I really did enjoy Saint, which is the book that I read. I really enjoyed the mental health representation in there. I thought that Sierra Simone has a really great writing style that I really enjoyed, and I thought that the romance was really well paced and well developed. So I'm hoping to get all of that in this story as well. I really don't know what else to expect in it. I mean, I'm not sure if it'll focus on mental health as much as Saint did, because obviously we're following different characters, so they're going through different things. And because I read the third book, I know that there was a lot of discussions about the fact that a family member of theirs had committed suicide due to abuse that she faced at the hands of a priest. And I'm assuming that kind of happened before everything in this series. So I'm assuming it's going to be discussed a little bit more in here, and kind of like being a part of the church despite knowing the church in a way has harmed a family member of yours. And I did enjoy those conversations, so it would be great if it was in here as well. I think that Sierra Simone did a good job of being respectful to religion and having the characters be people of faith while simultaneously acknowledging the flaws within the current religious system and the organizations that gain so much power from religion. So really excited to go ahead and jump into this, and I will check in with you most likely later today to let you know a little bit about my initial thoughts. I also did start Assistant to the Villain yesterday, but I read or listened to less than an hour, so that's why I didn't really update you, but I'm hoping to get a bit more through that today, so I can go ahead and give you my initial thoughts on that as well. All right, guys, these pumpkin cranberry crisps from Trader Joe's with cream cheese is probably my new addiction that I probably cannot afford to keep, because both of these things are kind of expensive. So we're gonna enjoy it while we can. But let me tell you guys, let me put you on. This is so good. Alright guys, so it is a Tuesday evening and I'm here to give you some initial thoughts on a couple books. Let's go ahead and start with Assistant to the Villain. I am 17% through the book. I didn't end up listening to it At work today, I had a lot of trainings today, and I technically had about an hour where I could listen to it, but I just wasn't in the mood. I'm just not an audiobook girly recently, so that's fine. But I did listen to it while I was doing a cardio at the gym, so I'm a little under 2.5 hours into the book. I don't have too much to say about it other than I don't think I've given an initial synopsis of the book. So essentially, this is a book where we are following a girl who has recently lost her job, and she's kind of responsible for taking care of her father. There's like a bug here. Oh, I actually got it. I'm not used to actually getting it. Anyway, she is taking care of her father, who is suffering from some sort of magical illness that seems to like randomly be affecting people throughout the kingdom, as well as her young sister who is still in school. And so she's kind of stressing about the fact that she is their sole provider and doesn't have a job right now. And one day she's bemoaning her current situation while wandering the forest, and she comes across the villain, and he's currently being hunted, and the two of them kind of end up running away from the knights together because he's like, you know, if they see you with me, even if you're not helping me, they're still gonna kill you. And so she's like, okay, so I'll go with you. And then he ends up offering her a job as his assistant, and she's like, you know what, sure. Why not? So she ends up starting to work for him, and at this point she is just kind of there at his evil lair and acting as his assistant. And they've been having this problem where a lot of the shipments that he's been trying to steal from the king are being stolen back, like essentially. So they are thinking that there is someone like a spy amongst his employees and whatnot, so they need to start looking into that. I'm gonna say this book is a silly goofy time. That's really all I can say. I would say the story doesn't take itself too seriously. I would say it is a romance for the most part. For some reason I thought someone said that it wasn't that much of a romance, and so I went into it thinking it wouldn't be a romance, but it definitely has, like, the two of them definitely are attracted to each other, and she's like constantly like, stop thinking about his thighs, and I'm like, girl, he's wearing like leather pants, tight leather pants, like what else are you gonna do? You gotta think about his thighs. And he is not happy that she is distracting him from his evilness and whatnot. So I think it's a fun time, maybe leaning towards ridiculous a little bit, but I think if you go into the story and don't take it too serious, you'll just have a good time. So that's what I'm doing with it. Those are my initial thoughts. We're not too far into the story. I do like the characters, so there's that. I don't find them annoying, even though she is one of those, oh, I'm so klutzy and I don't have a filter and I just say things that other people wouldn't say. And the guy is like, oh my gosh, she just like the way her mind works. And you're like, yeah, she's got some sort of like mental health issues, okay? And I mean, like, me too, but you don't see me attracting the attention of any evil villains, but whatever. Up next, my current physical read, we have Sinner. So I am on page 57, so I did not read 90 pages, but I don't actually think that I would need to read 90 pages to finish this by the end, so not too stressed about it. So this book follows Sean and Zenny. And I have to admit, like, I don't really know how everyone is related, especially since I never read the first book. So it seems that Zenny is the sister of the love interest in the third book that I read. And Sean, he is the brother of the love main character of the third book. So he is the one, Sean is the one who lost his sister to suicide after she was molested by a priest, and so he does not have a good relationship with the church. He does not believe in God or anything like that anymore. He's kind of left that all behind. He focuses very much on making the big bucks. You know, he's one of those guys who goes out, makes big deals, makes good money, and he's a player. You know, he's out there sleeping. He's always like, I'm out here sleeping with strippers and sleeping with people's wives. I'm a player. I'm a skirt chaser. And I think he's like 36 years old at this point. And then one day he is at like a function and he just signed a big deal and he comes across this girl and she says her name is Mary, and they like hit it off really well, but then he has to go to the hospital because his mother is suffering from cancer, and it looks like she had an issue that required immediate surgery, so their kind of night was interrupted. And then the next day he finds out that the deal that he just made is getting some bad publicity because he bought, or the company helped, a financial transaction between two people where was selling a bunch of dilapidated buildings that they wanted to tear down and then build into a new shiny recreational area or shopping area kind of situation. And you know, they're like, there's no tenants here. And then it turns out that while there wasn't any official documentation, there technically are tenants there in the form of nuns who run a shelter, especially with women who have been trafficked. So it looks very bad for them to be like, yeah, we're gonna tear down this building that shelters trafficked women and is run by nuns and like build shiny buildings so that we could put a bunch of expensive boutiques in them. Like, that doesn't look good. So he kind of goes to this shelter to kind of talk to them, be like, hey, we need to like clean up this mess. And then he sees Mary, who is actually Zenny, who is the sister of his best friend, who he apparently, despite them being best friends, didn't recognize. So I was like, okay, dude, I guess he hasn't seen her for 14 years. Anyway, that's kind of the situation that's going on. Very messy, especially since she is only 21. So she is a lot younger than him. So he's like, okay, few reasons I should not want her. 21, too young. My best friend's younger sister, I knew her when she was a baby, and she's a nun, and I hate the church. A bunch of valid reasons not to be with someone, I would say, but this dude is just so horny for her. Like, this dude cannot chill. I was like, you need to get like checked out or something. Like, I don't know if you got some sort of sex addiction, but I mean, the insta lust that is present in the story, it's too much for me. It's too much for me. Like, I didn't go into this for an erotica. Like, if I went into this thinking it was an erotica, I'd be like, yeah, this is fine. Like, obviously this is gonna happen. But that's not what I was expecting from this book. And it's just like a real punch in your face. Like, if I have to hear this guy talk one more time about like all the things that he wants to do to her, I'm like, bruh, no offense, I don't care. I don't care how much you want to like taste this and taste that and touch this. Like, I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, why have I heard about it so many times in just the first 50 pages? So to me, I'm definitely not enjoying it as much as Saint. I think it was definitely more of a gradual build because we had people that had previously been together and then separated and had to kind of slowly find their way back together. This story seems like it's going to be more of a, we really want to bone each other. We're going to try and get it out of our system before she officially becomes a nun. And along the way, we're going to like actually develop like genuine strong feelings for each other. And I don't know how much I like that trajectory of a relationship. So far for me, I've been rather underwhelmed. There's definitely things that still intrigue me. Like, he obviously feels really responsible for his mother. He was unable to recognize that his sister needed help and wasn't able to save her before she committed suicide. And so he's like trying to save his mother because he's like, I have the opportunity, I have the money to get the best treatments and the best doctors, and I have the connections to get her into trials and whatnot. And he's like really trying to save her, and he's kind of taken that all on himself. He's like trying to keep his dad busy and away from it all, so he is really like, it's all me. His siblings are off doing other things. So I am interested in that storyline, and just like the guilt that he feels for the death of his sister and how he's kind of projecting that onto what he's kind of doing with his mom right now. And she's really sick, you know, like people are starting to be like, you need to start to acknowledge that your mom is going to die, you know, and he's just not really willing to do that yet. So I do like that aspect of the story, but like the relationship aspect of it right now, yeah, not yet. I mean, I'm kind of hoping that maybe it like starts off really hot and heavy where they're like, okay, we just can't say no. You know, it's gotta be, I mean, his feelings have to be like intense enough for him to overlook the fact that she's too young, that she's his best friend's sister, and that she's a nun. Like, I get that he can't just be like, nah, I guess I kind of have feelings for you, so I'll just ignore all that. No, like he's gotta like be single-mindedly wanting to dive into that, the JJ. So to a degree it makes sense, but it's just not something that I personally enjoy as someone who enjoys a more gradual build of a relationship. So, but I'm hoping that maybe once they get past that initial hyper lust situation, that maybe things will chill out a little, and then I'll start to enjoy the relationship a little bit more. But yes, those are my initial thoughts on the book. I'm not sure when I'll check in with you next, because I feel like I probably won't have too much to say on this book, seeing as it is a romance. So I'm not sure if I'll check in with you maybe like once I get to the 50% mark, and I doubt that'll be tomorrow because tomorrow I have therapy. But other than that, I don't have to go to the gym or anything, and I washed my hair tonight, so I don't have to worry about that tomorrow. So we'll see. I'll check in with you either tomorrow or on Thursday.
I'm still in love with my ex and it's just my luck. Wish I didn't care so much, cause me and her don't make sense and it fucks me up. I'm still in love but love sucks. Yeah. Before you and I, what was hers was mine. And I'm sorry, I swear I thought that my heart was ready, but I can't keep her off my mind. And I'm not alright. Had a thought when I was faded, why they call it love when you hate it. I'm still in love with my ex and it's just...
Alright guys, change of plans. It is Wednesday. I am on my lunch break. I have finished editing my October TBR and I watched it through. It looks goodish. It's as good as it's gonna get. That video was chaotic, but then I sat down and I picked up Sinner again, because I didn't pick it up this morning because I didn't really feel like reading it. And I've read, since I checked in, 3 pages, almost 4, and I don't want to read this. I am gonna DNF this book. I can't believe I'm doing this, but there have been too many sentences where the author has said things where I'm like, I really wish you didn't describe things that way. And I've read Sierra Simone before, and I don't remember having a problem with her writing. It's just this is not working for me. It really isn't. I mean, I will definitely give Sierra Simone a chance in the future because I have liked her work. This is just a no for me. It's just too weird. I'm like, why is this happening? Why is this woman who is so horny? She is so horny. She wants it so bad. Like, why would she become a nun? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there are ways to be a part of the church, an active part of the church, and probably even work for the church, where you can be sexually active. Like, this girl is in no way meant to be a nun. Like, God is sending her a big old sign in the form of this dude's dingaling. Hey, ma'am, this isn't the life for you. So only 60 pages in, and I'm already like, why is this lady becoming a nun? What's going on? Like, I feel like the only reason the author was making her become a nun was because she wanted the taboo aspect of the story, but it doesn't actually make any sense. And maybe throughout the story we would learn more about how she got here, but I don't care. I just don't want to read about this guy, and especially because it's from the guy's point of view. Like, I don't mind if we get like the woman's point of view and the guy's point of view, but when it's just the dudes, I'm like, get me out of this man's head, please. I don't want to be here anymore. So yeah, no, I'm gonna go ahead and DNF this. So this is for my final animal studies prompt, the Q prompt, to read a book that had a cover change. So this went from one of those human face covers to the flowers. And because I didn't get 50% through, I'm like, well, I'm not going to count it. So I need to switch it out for another book. So I wanted to get this book on my October TBR. I actually wanted to put it on a previous TBR as well, but I just wasn't able to get it on. It's like slipped through my fingers a few times. So this time I'm like, you know what? When God closes a door, he opens a window, and I will be reading Withered and Sear by TJ Klune. Now, this is the other cover. Very similar, unfortunately also better in my opinion. I was very disappointed when I bought it and it came looking like this, and I kind of looked around and I couldn't find this is the cover that I see on my Goodreads. So it is a little bit darker. It kind of seems like the bird is dead, while in this one it looks very much alive. The colors are a lot brighter here. So I mean, it's not much of a change, but it's a change, so I'm counting it. And so this is a book by TJ Klune. It is a duology. It is kind of like a dark sci-fi post-apocalyptic situation. We're following Cavallo, so he seems to be kind of living on his own in the crumbling ruins of the North Idaho Correctional Institution. So he lives with a mutt called Bad Dog and a robot on the verge of insanity. He finds himself kind of losing touch with reality, and one day he kind of stumbles across this group of killers who is known as the Dead Rabbits, and he kidnaps one of those, and it happens to be a mute who is also a psychopath. So I have been wanting to read this story for so long. I'm like, that sounds so intriguing. I really hope that I enjoy this, because I have been hyping it up in my head for so long that if I don't like it, if I give it anything less than like a 4, you're gonna be finding this on my most disappointing books of the year for sure. So hopefully a 5-star read, but anything above a 4 I will be happy with. And definitely a bummer, especially since I bought this book. I purchased it. I've enjoyed this author in the past, so very surprising that it was a DNF, but my brain was like, please put some bleach on me. So yes, we'll be starting this bad boy. Hopefully we still finish it by the end of the month. It is just over 300 pages, and it's, you know, self-published, so the words are a little bigger, and I tend to read TJ Klune relatively quickly, so I am very excited. With a change of plans, this worked out in my favor. So I will check in with you guys either later tonight or tomorrow to give you my initial thoughts. I'm honestly just trying to figure out, like, how his paw is over here. Like, how is that even comfortable? Like, all 3 of your paws are here, and then this one is just like sticking out weird. Huh? You doing the splits or something? He's in timeout, by the way. That's why he's stuck here in the office with me while I work. Because you are annoying your brother. Mm-hmm. So it is Thursday. Yes, it is Thursday afternoon. I am on my lunch break. Hi. Is your brother with you? Oh, there he is. There he is. I caught a kitten. I caught a kitten. All right, put you back down. Like I was saying, I am on my lunch break. It is kind of windy out, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. But I just wanted to do a quick reading update. Audiobook wise, I don't have anything to update because I've been having some training, so I haven't really had the opportunity to listen to it at work. So I am still in the same place with that. Or I think I listened to maybe one chapter, so I don't really have anything else to say about it, but I have gone ahead and passed the 100-page mark for Withered and Sear. I'm on page 118. This book is a lot more depressing than I thought it would be. I mean, obviously I knew it wasn't gonna be like a happy-go-lucky time or anything like that, but essentially we are following Cavallo, who is a man that lives in America post-nuclear war. It is 100 years after humanity essentially wiped itself out with nuclear warheads. And he has been living alone in this prison that is a few miles away from this town, which I believe he used to live in. However, one day his wife and young son were killed, and he no longer really felt a need to be an active member of society, essentially. So he goes back to the town every once in a while so that he can get some supplies. It seems that the town kind of owes him for doing something that potentially involved him killing someone in the past. So like he shows up there before winter starts to get like winter supplies and things like that. At the beginning of this story, we are following him as he's hunting a deer. I'm gonna start holding the camera because it's so windy out that it keeps like moving around. But he was hunting a deer and it crossed over to the other side of the highway into what is kind of known as the Deadlands. It seems like the Deadlands have more radioactive material than other areas, so people try to avoid them because they don't want to get like tumors and things like that. However, he needs this deer, so he decides to cross over, and there he comes across some of the dead rabbits. And he luckily isn't noticed by all of them, but he is noticed by our mute character, who seems to be the pet, is what the other ones called them, of the dead rabbits leader known as Patrick, I think it was his name. And this young man kind of tries to attack our guy, and they fight. Our guy kind of comes out on top, and he takes this dead rabbit to the town, and there it seems like there is someone who's claiming to be from the US government, like, hey, we're trying to rebuild the US government essentially, and we're here to kind of set up a post and all that, and we'll go ahead and take this dead rabbit as a prisoner, because the dead rabbits, one of the reasons people hate them so much is because they're cannibals. So they be out here eating people. And our guy's like, sure, fine, you know. But then as he's leaving the town, he's realizing that these military guys are kind of like torturing this rabbit, and he's like, I don't really like that they're doing that. He kind of seems to have started to build some respect for this rabbit and how like tough he is and how he doesn't give in to fear or anything. He feels a bit of a connection to this rabbit, especially because, as the synopsis mentioned, our character's kind of descending into madness a little bit, in that he often hears his son who has died, and he actually came across the rabbits because his son had appeared to him and said, chase me, daddy. And so he feels like his son potentially led him to this rabbit, and so he was kind of like reluctant to see him get killed. And so he's kind of decided to kind of break him out of this situation, and go ahead and get them back to their prison, where they can probably go ahead and hunker down for the winter. So definitely some dark things happening here. Obviously, we're talking about cannibalism. We are talking about people getting tortured. There's been mentions of people being like beheaded and roasted alive and skinned alive and heads on stakes and all that jazz. Like the descriptions of the deer dying that he shot were pretty descriptive as well, and also the description of the deer itself, and the deformities of it based off of the fact that there's still so much radiation in the environment. So it is definitely a darker story, but I am actually really enjoying TJ Klune's writing and his description of our characters. I think he's doing a really good job of writing our character, the conversations he has like with himself, the conversations he has with his dog, because he feels like his dog can communicate with him. It's just another part of his madness. It's just really interesting. So I'm really intrigued to kind of see where we go with this story, because this Patrick guy seems to be a new member of the dead rabbits. Like usually they are a group without a leader, and he seems to be a leader to them, which is unusual. And it seems like he is almost taking on the form of a cult leader. So instead of just a group of savage cannibals, they're becoming more of an organized cult organization, which could definitely make them more dangerous. And it seems that these military guys are interested in finding this Patrick guy because he used to be part of their organization. So that makes their organization seem kind of sketchy, because they have a connection to this guy. They're willing to like torture people. So once again, don't think you can trust the military. Another book where the military is not the good guys. And I'll be intrigued to see what Cavallo and this dead rabbit do once they reach the prison. It seems that Cavallo has gotten injured during the rescue attempt, and instead of leaving him behind, this rabbit has decided to go ahead and run into the night with him. So very intrigued so far, really enjoying the characters, really enjoying the storyline and the writing. So I'll go ahead and check in with you guys probably once I finish another 100 pages or so. Alright guys, so it is still Thursday evening. I'm about to get ready for bed, but I figured since I was almost at page 200, page 194, but I'm at the end of the chapter, I would go ahead and check in with you because these chapters are pretty long. That being said, I am continuing to enjoy the story. I am continuing to really enjoy the characters and the writing. I think that this book is focusing very heavily on grief. At this point, there's no romance between our two characters. They are like literally constantly like this close to killing each other, and there's always just like something that stops them. So, if this does turn into a lover situation, it is a true enemies to lovers, slow burn. But right now, we are very heavily focusing on our main character's grief and just the way that that grief over the years has deteriorated, struggling with that word right now, his mind and his humanity. So he's kind of like looking at this dead rabbit, which every time I say that, I'm like, it's not like a dead rabbit, like the dead animal. It's like the name of that cult or whatever they are. Every time he looks at him, he sees like a little bit of himself in there, but he still is very adamant that they are very different people because he assumes that this rabbit has done a lot of terrible things. And we don't get this rabbit's point of view, and obviously he's mute, so he doesn't really communicate. And oftentimes, even when Cavello asks him questions, he doesn't really answer. So like, how many bad things has he done, and how many bad things has he done because he's wanted to do them, and how many bad things has he done because his hand was forced? Because there have been multiple occasions where the rabbit was going to be killed by Cavello or by the people from the military, and he seemed pretty ready to go. He was like, oh, finally, he seemed almost relieved, like, okay, it's time for me to die. So he is clearly not very happy with his life. And also at the same time, with the fact that he is mute because someone slit his throat, it's clear that he wasn't exactly in a good situation or anything. So I have a feeling that once we get to learn more about this character, he's going to be a rather complex, potentially morally gray character. He is rather animalistic to a degree. He is a person who was raised from childhood by a very savage group of people, but he also seems to have potentially some more humanity than maybe other people in the group have, and that may have gotten him in trouble with that group in the past. So really interested to learn some more about him. I sometimes think that the pacing of the story is a little bit slow. I mean, at the point that we are at, the chapter I just finished, I have a feeling that things are potentially going to get a little bit more exciting. It looks like someone is coming for them. So they're definitely in a little bit of danger. And I'm hoping that the last third of this book definitely picks up in pace. But this is a duology, so it's not a standalone. So I have a feeling that this book is doing a lot of character building and just kind of setting up the story and kind of hinting at some interesting things that kind of hint at the fact that this dead rabbit and our character are potentially important characters in something that's to come. So I'm not really sure. I'm definitely intrigued. I do wish the pacing was a little bit faster, but all the same, still continuing to have a great time with the story. I'm kind of hoping that tomorrow I finish it. I have just over 100 pages of this book left, and I did read over 100 pages of it today, I believe. Tomorrow, I don't have really too many plans other than work. And then right after work, I'm going out to dinner with my mom and some of her friends who are bringing their daughters as well. They are going to some sort of ABBA group, you know, kind of like a ABBA cover group afterwards. I wasn't interested in going to that. I saw an ABBA cover group with my mom and sister, was it last year? And wasn't really my jam. I'm not a big concert person, so I mean, I do like ABBA. They're a fun group, but I was like, nah, I don't need to go to that. But I am gonna go out to dinner with them before the show, and then I'll just head home and probably see if I can finish up this book. And then after I finish up this book, I will probably spend the remainder of the month focusing on finishing my audiobook, because I have not touched that audiobook since I listened to like 1 hour of it this morning. I didn't listen to it while I was at the gym. Today was a leg day, and I feel like, especially with legs, I really have to listen to like hype music because your girl hates doing squats. Let me tell you. So between me listening to music instead of my audiobook and the trainings that I've had over the last couple days, I am not very far into that book. I'm probably only about 20%, maybe even less than 20% through. So that will probably become my primary focus once I finish this. But I will go ahead and leave you for now. And most likely I will go ahead and check in with you whenever I happen to finish this, whether that is tomorrow or on Saturday. Let me tell you what a slow burn is. It's when their lips brush. It's like not even a kiss. Guys, I'm going crazy over here. I am on page 264. So I am about 40 pages away from finishing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish it tonight. Am I going to give you my final thoughts tonight? It depends on how long it takes me and if I'm too tired to do so. But let me tell you right now, I'm having a grand old time. I'm loving it out here. All right, guys, so I have gone ahead and finished Withered and Sear by TJ Klune. Hoopla. I am trying to think of what I want to rate this book. I feel like the majority of the book was like a really solid 4-star read, but then there were some things at the end that I really quite enjoyed, and the way that the story ended, I'm very intrigued to get to the next book. So I kind of feel like a 4.5 star is what this book deserves. I think that TJ Klune's writing really shone in this book. I feel like he has somewhat of a interesting leaning towards slightly repetitive writing style, which I usually kind of like, but sometimes it gets to be a bit too much. But when we're dealing with characters that are suffering from essentially insanity, I think it worked really well for the story. I thought that his writing really lent well to the vibes of the story overall. So really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed all of the characters, including our main character, the dead rabbit, Bad Dog, and Sirs, the insane robot, and even the snippets of the townspeople that we got to see. I'm assuming we'll probably get to know them a little bit more in the next book. I'm very intrigued by who the villains are. It kind of seems like we have two forces that are working against each other, but they're also both a threat to Cavello and his people. So our character is definitely going to have to battle some enemies on both fronts. So that's gonna get relatively intense. We'll see if there's any my enemy of my enemy is my friend situations going on, or if it's just like, okay, we're gonna have to kill both of these groups somehow. We'll have to manage that. So really enjoyed all the characters, really enjoyed the writing. I thought that the plot was really interesting. Sometimes the pacing of the story was a little bit slow, which is why I feel like I can't quite give it a 5-star, but I would say that this is definitely the darkest book I've ever read by TJ Klune. I definitely knew from the synopsis that it probably would be, but I was almost kind of surprised to read something so dark from him, because there were definitely some pretty intense, somewhat gruesome scenes throughout this story. I would not consider this book a romance. I just want to point that out. There are definitely hints that there is something pretty strong between Cavello and the dead rabbit, Psycho, which is what he was kind of calling him throughout this book until he learned his name, but I'm not going to tell you what his name is because you can read the book and find out. So there's definitely something there, but their relationship is pretty intense, pretty strained. If you like a knife to the throat scene, there are a few of those in here, and a couple of them do end in kisses. So I was like, dang, this is what people are talking about with those knife to the throat scenes. And when I say knife to the throat, I mean like blood is drawn. I mean, I put my knife to your throat, we kissed, now I'm gonna fall asleep on your shoulder, but I'm gonna keep my knife poised at your stomach. Like, the relationship between the two of them, both of them are definitely insane, and they clearly have feelings for each other, but maybe they just like, they still see the other as a potential threat. So it's just like a very like will they, won't they? I honestly have no idea if this story is gonna have a happy ending. The way that the story is told, it's kind of told in such a way where every once in a while the author will say like, if Cavello had known at this time what would happen, would he have changed his way? So it's kind of like actively telling the story, retrospectively telling the story, and from what glimpses of that voice, futuristic voice we have heard, things are gonna get dark. Things are gonna get bloody. People are gonna die. If it's Bad Dog, I will not be okay. Like, I love Bad Dog so much. I like, honestly, and I'm not just saying like because I hate when an animal dies in any book, but if Bad Dog dies, like, I don't think Cavello will recover. I don't think I will recover. It's just like, he's such a good character, but what I'm saying is I'm sure someone will die, and I'm just not sure if it's gonna be a happy ending. I don't know if this series is even like considered a full-blown romance, if our two characters will walk off into the sunset together, or if one of them will die, if both of them will die. I don't know. I'm really scared for the next book, but I'm also really excited. So if you're looking for like a darker story with just like a sprinkling of romance, that delves very heavily into the concept of grief. TJ Klune always handles grief really well, and that's no different in this story. And it also delves a lot into what happens to the human mind when they have not only lost, but taken a lot. Our character has killed a lot of people, and that negatively impacts him just as much as him having lost those that he has lost, like other people taking from him. So it was at times definitely a heart-wrenching story. Our character has been through a lot. I definitely feel for him a lot, but I really did enjoy the story, and I was really glad that I read this instead of Sinner, because I don't think I would be finishing Sinner anytime soon, because I would be dragging my feet on reading that for sure. So I've gone ahead and finished my final physical book. So this means I need to focus primarily on my audiobook. I'm going to be trying to finish it this weekend would be ideal, not having to take this vlog into Monday, though technically Monday is the last day of the month. So if I need to, I can. I have about just over 10 hours of the audiobook left. I'm only 26% through it. I once again did not really listen to it today. I don't know what it is. I am just not in the mood to listen to the audiobook. I mean, it's a fun time, but it's just not holding my attention that well, especially since the workload that I can listen to audiobooks to, I work for the first 2 hours of my workday, so from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and I guess my brain is still like not awake enough to fully be able to process an audiobook, so that's why it's just not working out really well. But we'll see this weekend, since I probably won't be focusing on a physical book. I'll try to spend as much free time as possible getting through that audiobook, because I do listen to them on 2x speed, so it'll be about another 5 hours of listening time. So maybe I'll see what the weather's like, go for a walk somewhere, or I usually don't like to listen to audiobooks when I do chores or cooking, because I easily get overstimulated when I do that, and I lose focus of the book. But I'll try and do it this weekend, because it's a pretty light and easy book, so it doesn't take too much concentration on my part. But chances are next time I check in with you will be to wrap up this vlog, and to wrap up Orilium in general, because we have reached the end. We have reached the finish line is in sight, and I am quite proud of myself. I'm not going to stumble here right at the end of the race. I'm not going to not finish this audiobook and be like, oh, I almost read all 15 prompts, but I just didn't feel like picking up my audiobook. Nope. We're doing it. We're going to finish it. We're going to finish strong, and I will talk to you guys then. I'm going to take my makeup off and maybe sit down and watch the last episode of Bee and Puppy Cat, because I think I am on the final episode. So we will see how it ends. I'm really excited about that. A very cute show, one I definitely can foresee myself watching again. My cat is snugging as a bug in my bed, and I am looking forward to joining him. And yes, that is life right now, and I will talk to you later. All right, guys, so I am here to wrap up this vlog because I have gone ahead and finished Assistant to the Villain. I just finished up the audiobook. It is Sunday evening, so I achieved my goal of finishing up this vlog this weekend, so I get to start my October TBR a day early, which, considering how long it is, I will take all the extra time that I can get. But that being said, Assistant to the Villain, I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this a solid 4 stars because I really enjoyed the direction that the story took and the way that it ended. It makes me honestly want to jump right into book 2, which I'm not gonna do because I have other books that I need to focus on. And my hair, what is that? Oh my god, what is that? All right, guys, hair change. I am in desperate need of a haircut, so my hair is just getting a little out of control these days. But that being said, I really do think it is a 4-star read. It is giving me exactly what it said it would give me, which is a fun, goofy, quirky time with likable, quirky characters that are down with murder. So I had a lot of fun with this story. I really enjoyed the relationship between our 2 main characters, and I'm really intrigued to see where it goes in the second story. It did take some unexpected turns, and we did get, a few snippets here and there of some aspects of our character's past that I'm looking forward to seeing things get expanded on a little bit, especially revolving around our main character Sage's mother, because her mother is not dead, she's left the family. So I'm really interested to see if she kind of like comes back into the picture, because it seems like Sage has some unresolved issues with her mother for sure. But those are my thoughts on the book without giving any spoilers or anything along those lines. But this was the final book for Restoration. The cue prompt, poisonous plant on the cover. I don't think I ever really said that, but this has some poison apples on the front, and that was the closest to a poison plant that I could get. So let's go ahead and summarize what we read in this week's vlog. That being said, we have completed my Orilium TBR, so pat on the back because I did not know if it would happen. We went ahead and started off this week by finishing Desperate Measures by Katie Roberts, and I want to say that I gave this book 4 stars. Yeah, so I gave this book 4 stars, and that went ahead and gave me my final lore prompt of a retelling. Up next, we went ahead and read The Alchemist, which was my final prompt for Alchemy, a traditional book that was originally self-published, and this was a reread. It is also a 5-star read for me. So that was fun. What wasn't fun is we did end up DNFing a book, which is Sinner. I did not have a good time with this. Every time I look at it, I'm just like, oh, thank God I don't have to pick that up anymore. I swear, sometimes there's no greater relief in the world than DNFing a book. So that is that. But I did have to go ahead and replace it. And I went ahead and replaced it with Withered and Sear by TJ Klune, which was the final prompt for Animal Studies, a book that had a cover change, which I was looking at the second book because I wanted to read it, obviously, and it had a cover change as well. And it's like all the original covers just fit the vibe of the story so much better, because the original covers are like genuinely kind of creepy, especially for book 2. And then the cover change, I'm honestly kind of salty about it. I'm like, what is this? Why are we doing this? But I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. Honestly, if I had book 2 on hand already, I probably would have spent the last 2 days reading that instead of my audiobook. So it's a good thing I didn't have that, but I am very eager to get to this, and I'm really glad that I picked this up instead of sinner, though it did make me realize that I am currently in the middle of 3 TJ Klune series, because I started my reread of the Green Creek series, first one being Wolf Song. I did read the Extraordinaries book and have the second one waiting on my shelf to be read, and now this book as well. So as you can tell, I am a TJ Klune fan. So hurrah! I am just amazed that we did it, because when I was putting together my TBR and realized that I had 15 books to read, I was definitely nervous, because this year, honestly, I would say between 10 and 12 has been pretty normal for me, and 10 probably being the most common number. So reading 5 more books than I usually have been definitely seemed like a bit of a stretch, but we were strategic and we chose a lot of short books. So I think that really did help us out a lot this month. That being said, we also had a lot of highly rated books, and it's always easier to more quickly read books that you're genuinely having a great time with. So I had a really great time with this readathon and looking forward to continuing on with it in the following years. I always enjoy just using these prompts and everything. I should probably go ahead and upload my books. I believe that G has a tracking form. I have never submitted books to that before, but I figured, you know, since I have actually completed my entire TBR in the designated month, that I might as well do that. So I might do that as soon as I finish filming this clip here. But yeah, guys, I had a really great month. It's been a really great reading month. Life-wise, it's been relatively good. I have recently gone ahead and gone down to therapy appointments every other week instead of weekly. So, you know, mental stability is on the horizon, guys. We are doing better with our reading and better with our mental health, which I feel like goes hand in hand, because I do think that in the past I've kind of mentioned that when my anxiety is higher, I do struggle to read because my mind tends to drift a lot more. I do think that me being in control of like my anxiety a bit more is definitely reflected in my ability to concentrate on reading a little bit more. So that is exciting for me, who enjoys not being anxious. That's something I personally enjoy. But thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey. It has been really great to have you guys along for the last month or so. I just kind of want to apologize because I know that these vlogs are going to be coming out relatively slowly as I'm finishing up this vlog. I have just kind of started editing week 2, and I'm about halfway through that editing process, so I know it's gonna be a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing, but I will try to get them out as soon as possible without it interfering with my ability to get through my intimidating October TBR. But let me know, guys, how your month of September went. If you guys took part in Orilium, I would love to know how your coursework went and what your favorite book that you read for the readathon was. As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye. Officially done vlogging.